Man, that was sweet. That was amazing. The game of the year. Better than the Oklahoma City comeback. Better than anything because of the importance of this game. Huge. Just so huge. And we're going to talk about all of it. Houston 96, San Antonio 95. Amazing. Houston is now 39-31 on the year. They've won 3 straight games. San Antonio falls to 53-17 on the year, and their 4-game winning streak is now over. This is the first time Houston has beat the Spurs this year. I was corrected in the Game 69 video by Bluebell, and she was absolutely right. I thought the Spurs had lost to Houston already, but they hadn't. So Houston gets that, and there's a chance these two teams could face each other in the playoffs in the first round or later. So definitely Houston wanted to show themselves and the Spurs that they could beat them, and that's what happened tonight. James Harden hit a game-winning jumper from the free throw line with about 4 seconds left. Very tough shot. He was trying to draw a foul. He did not get the foul call, but he did hit the shot. Jeremy was benched late in this game. We'll get to more of that in a second, with about 3 minutes and 56 seconds left. And it almost backfired on McHale. But it worked out. And you guys know what my rule is. If it works, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because we won. Nobody cares. Nobody will remember that he was benched or care about it in a week. It doesn't matter. As I said, this was the biggest win of the year because of when it came. It's almost certain now. Houston would have to totally collapse now to not make the playoffs. And the reason why I say that is there's only 12 games left. Utah is losing right now to Dallas, and they're going to lose that game. And that means Houston is going to be 5 games up on Utah, and Houston has the tiebreaker. So, I mean, it's possible to lose a 5-game lead in 12 games, but it's not, unless a couple of people get hurt on the Rockets or something crazy happens, it's probably not going to happen. So, I'm not going to celebrate until we're actually in the playoffs, but this was just incredible. Just amazing. Also, Houston is up 3 games now on the Los Angeles Lakers. We are 1/2 of a game behind the Golden State Warriors right now. And what's great is that the Warriors and the Lakers are playing each other tomorrow night, which means either the Lakers lose and we go up even more on them, or else the Warriors lose and we're in 6th place. If the Warriors lose tomorrow night, to the Lakers, that game's in Golden State, we would be tied in the standings with Golden State, but we have the tiebreaker over them because we won the season series. So if the Warriors lose, we're number 6 as of tomorrow night. So this is just phenomenal. I mean, this is just so great. I mean, it could be in 6th place tomorrow night, and we are looking tremendously solid for a playoff spot at this time. This team is doing great. They have come so far and overachieved so much. Just so happy for the guys and proud of them. All right, let's turn to Jeremy. Jeremy finished this game with 6 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists. He played 27 minutes, shot 2 of 8 from the field, including 0 of 1 from the three-point range. He was 2 of 2 from the free throw line. He had 2 steals, 1 block shot, 4 turnovers, 3 personal fouls. His plus-minus was -13. His efficiency number was 6. Now, Patrick Beverly played very well in this game. That's part of the reason why he was on the court at the end of the game. Beverly finished with 11 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. And his efficiency number was 15 for this game. So his efficiency number was like 2.5 times what Jeremy was just in this game. There are nights when the backup's going to be better than the starter. It's just the guy's going to have a good night, and it's going to work. And that's what happened for Beverly in this game, although it didn't happen in the fourth quarter. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. Tony Parker, who is the starting point guard for the Spurs, had a great night, and he really finished strong in the fourth quarter. He finished up with 23 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists, and his efficiency number was 28. And 14 of those efficiency units, or half of the amount that he finished with, came in the fourth quarter. He had 12 points in the fourth quarter. So it looked a lot like, recently we played the Phoenix Suns in a home and home, meaning you play them at their place and then you go back to your place and play. And those games are consecutive. In the first game of that series was in Phoenix. And if you remember, Goran Dragic, the starting point guard for the Suns, went crazy in the fourth quarter against Jeremy. And that's what this was like. Tony Parker just went nuts in the fourth quarter. And the reason why McHale benched Jeremy is because Tony Parker started to heat up. He scored 6 points or 8 points, I can't remember which, against Jeremy. And McHale was thinking 2 things at that time, I'm sure. 1, I need better defense against Tony Parker. And 2, Patrick Beverly's had a good game, a real good game. And between Beverly's in-your-face defense and Beverly having a good game and wanting to win the game, that's why he pulled Jeremy out of the game. Now, again, yeah, it's too bad Jeremy got pulled out of the game, but this is a very unique situation. This is a critical game that you have a chance to win. And Houston was up by 6 points or so going into the fourth quarter. This is a game that you can win. And so if you have a chance to win, you got to do whatever you can to win. And so what you see going on early in the fourth is Tony Parker's starting to just go crazy. And Jeremy's having a hard time stopping him. So I understand why McHale did it. It almost didn't work, but I understand why he did it. And I don't have a problem with it, again, because it worked. When Patrick Beverly came in, and I'll go over more of this in quarter by quarter, he didn't do that well. He missed an open three-pointer. Tony Parker was scoring on him just as easily as he was scoring on Jeremy. So the move didn't work that well. But it turned out okay because Houston won. And that's the way it goes. Like I said before, if you win, everything's great. If Houston didn't win, then I'd be ripping McHale right now for making that move because it didn't work out. Just in terms of Beverly versus Parker, it didn't work. Jeremy was better in the fourth quarter than Patrick Beverly was. So it didn't work. But it did work because Houston won. And like I said, that's a lot of the way that coaching and judgment of coaching decisions works. So McHale escaped in this situation because Houston won the game. Jeremy was the reason why I think he struggled early in this game was he was too pumped up for this game. And that happens all the time. I think we've talked about this before. For any performer, an athlete, if you're taking a test, if you're singing in a group, you need to have a certain amount of adrenaline so that you can perform at an optimum level. If you're flatlining, you're not going to be ready to play. But if you have too much adrenaline, then you can mess up. And I think Jeremy was too pumped up for this game. I think that's why he struggled early. And that's not a surprise, right? He's a young player in his first full season as a starter, and this is a huge game. Everybody knows on the Rockets how important this game is. And I think it just, like I said, I think Jeremy was a little too keyed up early on in this game. And I said, I'm not surprised by that. He played better in the second half, particularly in the third quarter. And in the fourth, he wasn't quite as good in the fourth as he was in the third, but he was better than he was early in the game, particularly in the second quarter. And the only way that you get through those jitters and those nerves is to play in games like this, is to go out, struggle a little bit, and then you won't struggle so much the next time. So the only way you do it is to do it. And so Jeremy did this. The team won. Nobody cares that he struggled. And now he's not going to have as much nerves the next game. Good. Perfect. I mean, that's you can't have a better scenario than that. As I said, it doesn't matter how Jeremy did because Houston won this game, and that's it. Tony Parker, as I mentioned, is a phenomenal player. And Jeremy did a pretty good job against him for much of this game, but he turned it on in the fourth quarter. As I said, I mean, he was at one point this year in the number 2 spot for the MVP consideration behind LeBron James, and he could still finish in that spot. So, I mean, you're talking about one of the best players in the league. So there's no shame in struggling against somebody like that because that's why he's a superstar. And he really brought his full game on in the fourth quarter. So, as I said, to me, this is a successful outing for Jeremy because the team won and he got more experience playing at a high level in a pressure-packed situation. Remember, the Knicks made the playoffs last year. Jeremy helped them make the playoffs, but he didn't play in the playoffs. So playing in the playoffs is a different type of speed or competitive level than playing in the regular season. And guys have to get used to that. And this game was like a playoff game because of how intense it was. And so, like I said, to me, it's successful for Jeremy because he got a chance to play in one of these type of games, and the team won. And he'll be better the next time around in a pressure-packed game like this. And so, very good. Just so happy. I'm just so happy for the team. I'm happy for Patrick Beverly. He played well, and we need that. We need that. I told you guys before, I've said it a million times, he's better than Tony Douglas. Now, I know Tony Douglas had a good game the other night for Sacramento, but he wasn't playing the Spurs. So it's a different level. And I'm happy for Patrick, and I'm happy for the team that they have Patrick, because that's why you got the quality backups. Every good team needs real backups, and Patrick Beverly is that. Okay, let's get to quarter by quarter. The feed that I was watching of this game was the San Antonio feed, and we've seen this before, particularly in the Phoenix game, the one I was referring to before, where Goran Dragic went off in the fourth quarter. In that game, it started off with their color analyst EJ, Eddie Johnson. EJ's keys to the game: slow down J-Lin. Well, the Spurs' keys to the game tonight, one of the two keys was watch the Houston backcourt. Right. In other words, teams know to be afraid of Jeremy and James Harden, of course. But if you're going to beat Houston, you need to slow down Jeremy. And so we've talked about this. Jeremy's on the scouting report. Teams are looking to focus on him. They're not doing that with Patrick Beverly. And again, that's one of the reasons why the backups can do better, because they're not on the scouting report. And you have to take that into consideration too. I mean, that comes into play. Okay, early in the first, Jeremy had a really nice play where he dribbled down into the lane from the right baseline, and Chandler Parsons made a cut on the left baseline, and basically Chandler was coming full speed, and Jeremy just kind of handed him the ball for an easy layup. It was a great play. It was great by Jeremy because he had all the attention on him, because he was right beside the rim and he had the ball in his hands. And so nobody was paying attention to Chandler. Chandler comes streaking in, little handoff, easy layup. Great play by both of those guys. Middle of the first, Jeremy had a nice steal against Tony Parker. He took the ball from him, and that led right to an easy layup for Chandler in transition. So great play there by Jeremy. Jeremy missed a catch-and-shoot three-pointer from 30 degrees left of the top of the arc in the middle of the first. He got pressured on the shot, but as I noted in the last game, Game 69, he didn't miss by much, even though he was under pressure. So, again, his shot is getting better and better from long distance. You can tell really good shooters because when they miss, they barely miss most of the time. And that's what's starting to happen at Jeremy from long distance. He's not going to hit every single shot, but the misses are getting closer and closer to makes. And that's a really good sign, Middle of the first, Jeremy did have, he kind of had like a little turnover play. And this is what I said. He was too amped up. He was too high strung for this game. He was having mistakes that he would not normally make. And that came with 5 minutes and 18 seconds left in the first quarter. And it's just, as I said, you have to get used to high-intensity games that are playoff games or playoff-type games. And so that's what this was for Jeremy. And like I said, I'm glad it happened. It happens to every single player. It's like LeBron going to the finals 2 years ago. Yeah, he struggled. He stumbled. Well, he didn't struggle last year. But you have to go through that. Again, you have to fail before you can really succeed. That's the case for 98, 99% of the people. There are exceptions, but very rare exceptions. I made a note here in the game that San Antonio's defense is tremendous. Their defense wasn't that good last year, but boy, it's good this year. Actually reminds me of Miami's defense. They really close out on shooters well and recover well. Now, what that means for people that aren't familiar with basketball is if your team, you're playing the Spurs, and your team, say you have the ball on offense, and you're going against their defense, and one of your guys is dribbling the ball close to the lane. So you have guys like Houston does out on the perimeter waiting for passes so they can shoot three-pointers. When you're on defense, if you're guarding one of the men on the perimeter, you still have to watch the ball. So what tends to happen is you start to come in towards where the ball is. You leave your man a little bit, and you start to come in and make the area around the basket more congested so that it's tough for the offense to get to the basket. You just want to clog it up a little bit. we see this with Jeremy, right? Jeremy will kind of play off of his man and come down and help just to kind of make it tougher for the offense. Well, that's what the Spurs do too. Closing out on defense or recovering well means when that guy who has the ball around the lane passes it out to one of the shooters, you got to get out and guard him. You need to close the distance between you and the shooter. That's called closing out on a shooter. You get back, you recover, meaning you recover from helping on defense and sagging off when you're coming down towards the dribbler. Then you have to recover and go guard your man. San Antonio is great at that. Great at that. They're as good. They look almost as good as Miami is to me, which is very, very good. Oklahoma City is also good at this. And it's difficult. If you're going against a defense that's good like that, it's very difficult to get open shots. And that's what this game looked like early on. They really, really made it difficult for Houston to get open shots. However, there is one weakness with that type of a defense, and that is if you make an extra pass or two extra passes, you will get a wide open shot. And the reason is because they're running so hard to recover that they can't cover all of the ground. And the way to explain it is you can pass the ball faster than a guy can run, right? So if you pass the ball around the perimeter, someone's going to be open. And Houston actually had a great play like that at the end of the third quarter that I'll describe. If you watched the finals 2 years ago, Dallas against Miami, that's how Dallas beat Miami. Or if you've watched the Knicks play Miami this year, early in the year, when the Knicks beat Miami, that's the way they beat them. Miami has an aggressive defense, and so you can use that aggressiveness against them by making extra passes around the perimeter. And that is the one weakness of that defense. And Houston exploited that a couple times tonight, particularly, as I said, on that one play near the end of the third quarter. But still, San Antonio is very, very good on both sides of the ball. I knew they were good, but watching them tonight, it's going to be extremely difficult for anybody to beat them, including Miami. I think Miami would beat them or could beat them, but they're better than they were last year when Oklahoma City beat them, and I think they have a great chance going to the finals. They are a very, very good team. Okay, Patrick Beverly came in for Jeremy with 4 minutes and 5 seconds left in the first quarter. At that point, the game was 15-10 for the Spurs, and it was a little bit early. You know, as we know, Mikhail he'll put Beverly in sometime late in the first. This one was a little bit earlier than he usually does, and I think it was just he was looking for a jump start. You know, kind of the Houston had not found their rhythm, and Jeremy was playing okay, not great, not bad, and I think Mikhail was just trying to kind of see what he could do to kind of get things going. Their way. Okay, Jeremy began the second quarter on the bench. Early in the second quarter, Houston had cut the deficit down to just 1 point, 30-29, and Patrick Beverly was playing great at that point. In fact, by that time of the game, he had already scored all the points that he was going to score in the game. He already had 11 points on 4 of 4 shooting, including 2 of 2 from three-point range. So, you know, Patrick had it going tonight. And as I said, you're going to get that. That will happen where backups just get hot. If the Lakers played the Wizards last night. Wizards have a guy that used to play for the Lakers named Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza scored 25 points yesterday off the bench for Washington. He was the high scorer for Washington, and he hit 7 of 12 three-pointers. You know, sometimes the backup just has it going. And when he does, you got to play him. And as I said, that's part of what Mikhail was thinking, I think, late in this game. It happens. And the term for that is riding the hot hand. If someone's got it going, you got to keep playing them so that you can get the most out of that situation. Okay, Jeremy came in for Patrick Beverly with 5 minutes and 58 seconds left to play in the second quarter. At that point, it was 34-23 Spurs. So Houston had clawed back into the game, made it a 1-point game, but then the Spurs had pushed it back up to 11 points there early in the second. As I said, Patrick Beverly did have 11 points at that point in time, and he was the high scorer of the game for both teams at that moment. Middle of the second, Jeremy got called for a tough foul. The Spurs got on a 2-on-1 fast break, which means that there were 2 Spurs and 1 Houston defender back. So, 3-on-1 is 3 men, 1, etc. Jeremy was the one person back. And what he did was he screened out, like he kind of put his body in between, I think, Kawhi Leonard and the basket. Honestly, I didn't think it was a foul. I mean, I understand why they called it, but it didn't really look like a foul to me, man. He wasn't happy about it. I wasn't happy about it. I had some choice words in my notes, but when I watched the replay, I was like, okay. I mean, you can't. I think the reason why they called the foul on Jeremy was because he was moving a little bit. If he had just stuck his body there and not moved side to side, then they wouldn't have called the foul. But he kind of moved while he did it, and I believe that's why they called the foul. Now, here in the second, Jeremy had one of his turnover bundles. And this is when I knew he was too keyed up. He was too much adrenaline. He got the ball stolen from him in the backcourt, like when he was bringing the ball up. The Spurs guy, DeColo, who's their backup point guard, he stole the ball from Jeremy. And then, like, the next play, Jeremy had just a silly pass, I think, to Demo off of a pick and roll. It was too... it wasn't a pass Jeremy should have made. And I think that, like I said, that's when I knew he was too amped up. And soon after that, Mikhail sent Patrick Beverly to the scores table, which is that's where they record like all the statistics for the game. That's where the guys go, where they take off their warm-ups before they come into the game. And the reason why that they do it like that, for people that don't know basketball much, is you have to tell the scorer, you have to tell the people that are keeping the statistics that you're coming into the game. Like, I'm coming into the game for whomever. So you have to check in, and that's how you officially check in, is by going to the scores table, which is right in the middle of the court, off the court, but right there in the middle, and you tell them that. So you could see Patrick Beverly was going to the scores table, and that was an instance where Mikhail took Jeremy out because he wasn't doing well. I mean, Jeremy had only been in the game for like 2 minutes. So it was clearly a circumstance where Mikhail took Jeremy out because he wasn't doing well. And I said, I don't have a problem with it because Jeremy, as I said, Jeremy was a little too hyped up. And he needed to kind of calm down. And the best way to calm a guy down is bring him to the bench. And again, it's not Jeremy's a bad boy or any of this stuff. It's just you're trying to win the game. And you can see one of your guys a little too on edge. So you just take him out, let him cool down. Everything's cool. And as I said, Jeremy was much better in the second half. The second quarter was really the tough time for him. And, so that's it. Like I said, there will still come times where Mikhail will pull him out for performance reasons. And this is one of those times. And Patrick came in for Jeremy 4 minutes and 1 second left in the second quarter. That time, the score was 40-32 San Antonio. James Harden at this point in time, he was, he didn't play a perfect game either, although he played a great game. I mean, he was critical in this game. And but as I said, I say stuff about Jeremy, including negative stuff, like what I was just saying. But the reason why I do that is because I'm focusing on Jeremy. These videos are about Jeremy. That doesn't mean everybody else is playing perfect either. James Harden had a number of times in this game, including right around that time when Patrick Beverly came back in, where he did an isolation play and got a turnover. And Carlos Delfino was sitting in the right corner, I think, just waiting, just wide open for a three. And Harden didn't pass it to him. So it's not just Jeremy. And don't think I'm criticizing Jeremy. I think, Skeletor and other people think I'm ripping on Jeremy. No, I'm focusing on Jeremy because that's what these videos are about. And that means I'll say the positive stuff and I'll say the negative stuff. Not because Jeremy's worse than anybody else on the team, but just because I'm watching him. And he is the point guard, which, as I've said before, has more responsibility than other players on the offense. Another good way to keep this into perspective too is that in that game last night I mentioned between the Lakers and the Wizards, and I watched a good amount of that game. The reason why the Lakers lost was because of Kobe, and their head coach basically said that after the game without calling Kobe out directly. So if you can have somebody as good as Kobe Bryant mess up in a game, then JLin can mess up in a game, and anybody else can mess up in a game. So I said, even superstars mess up sometimes, have bad games. So Jeremy had some struggles in this game. So what? That's going to happen for everybody, including the best players in the league and some of the best players of all time. So I know people say to me, Melody Ting and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting your name right now. I want to say Hanny Chang, believe. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name right now. You guys are always saying that I calm you down about Jeremy, because you're worried about him, or you think, oh, he had a tough time. Everybody has tough times in competitive athletics, especially at the top level. You're going to have bad games. You're just going to have bad games. Everybody is. So if you were looking at this game, the glass, is the glass half empty? Is it half full? All of this. If you were negative about this game, you'd say Jeremy struggled and he got benched in the fourth quarter late. And you'd be like, oh, no. And this is where somebody that understands the game can help out, calm that, because that's not the correct reading of the situation. The way I look at it, as I said, is young player who hasn't been in a lot of pressure games, playoff intensity type of games or playoff type of games, who was just a little bit too excited for this game, a little too amped up for this game. And that's why he struggled. But he did play better in the second half. And it's typical for young players to struggle. And there's 82 games in a year, and everybody's going to have games where they struggle, including Kobe, including the best players. And so if you know all that, then it's not a big thing. And that's where people that are newer to the game, maybe just watching the game because of Jeremy, that is where somebody like myself can help you out, because this is normal. It's like if I didn't know anything about raising kids and I had a child or a baby And it's like, oh, it's doing this. It's that's crazy. And somebody else would be like, that, raised 5 kids. Like, oh, yeah, it's normal. But I don't know that. And that's where, like I said, that's where I can come in and say, yeah, this is all pretty typical. This is all normal. I'm not. Now, haters are going to come out. Haters will come out. Patrick Beverly should start. Jeremy's a fraud. Jeremy chokes under pressure. Blah, blah, blah. So be ready for that, because Jeremy's had 2 games in a row that have been meh, not great. So you'll see haters, but it's either they don't know what they're talking about, or they're trying to cause a problem. They're people that that know better, that'll try to make Jeremy look bad. But this doesn't surprise me at all, not in the least. And like I said, I'm glad that it happened, because that means it's one less thing that Jeremy has to go through going forward. Okay, he had his struggles in a playoff intensity type game. Okay, now we can put that behind him and we move on to the next thing. Okay, Jeremy actually came back into the game with about 41 seconds left in the half. The reason why McHale did it was because Patrick Beverly had 3 personal fouls. As I told you guys in the last video, the Game 69 video, coaches don't like it when guys get 3 personal fouls in the first half. And if you get that, they'll pull you out. And if you get 2, they'll probably pull you out, as we've talked about before, so you don't get 3. But if you get 3, you're coming out. Is there a method in that? Yeah. I mean, you don't want a guy to get his 4th personal foul before the half, because the rule in the NBA is when you get 6 personal fouls, you're out of the game. So coaches traditionally like to have a guy not have 3 personal fouls going in halftime, because then you've got plenty of personal fouls for the second half left, right? If you have 2, you still have 3 more left. If you have 3, well, then you only have 2 left. And, if you get number 6, you're out. So that's just kind of traditionally the way coaches will play. If you get 2 or 3, you're likely going to be sat down, certainly if you get 3. There are coaches who don't do that. Phil Jackson sometimes in the Lakers, he'd keep guys in. It's a risk, because that guy could get the 4th personal foul. Then you're really in trouble. But it's pretty typical. And that's why Jeremy came back into the game late in the second quarter for Patrick Beverly, even though Beverly had replaced him, because Jeremy was struggling some. Okay, Jeremy started the third quarter. Early in the third, he missed a off-the-dribble jump shot from the left side of the top of the key, which again is that semicircle on top of the lane. And I made a note here where he was still a little bit geeked up, still going a little bit too quickly, but he settled down quickly, because again, the third quarter was his best quarter of the game. Early in the third as well, Jeremy drove into the lane and made a nice pass out to Demo for a 3-pointer from about 10 degrees left of the top of the arc. Middle of the third, Jeremy drove down the right side of the lane, and he put up a little runner off of the glass, off of the backboard. He missed it, but it was easily rebounded by Omer Asik for a simple little putback. And what happened on that play was, because Jeremy got close to the lane, Tim Duncan came out to help on him, which means Tim Duncan left Omer Asik, so Omer could easily get the offensive rebound and put it back in. That's a good play. I've talked about this before. Derrick Rose for the Bulls will often drive into the lane, draw a whole bunch of attention. He'll miss, but because everybody's paying attention to him, guys on his team will get easy offensive rebounds and putbacks. That's basically what Jeremy did on that play. it was almost like an assist, essentially, but it doesn't get counted as an assist. But it was an excellent play. Also, middle of the third, Jeremy got a nice layup after James Harden stole the ball from the Spurs and got it ahead of Jeremy for the layup. Jeremy, middle of the third as well, had a half-court pass. It was like an alley-oop from half-court to James Harden for a layup. Now, Harden missed the layup. He almost made it, but he got fouled doing it, and he got 2 free throws there. So, look, Jeremy was in a good groove now. He was making good plays. He was scoring. He was getting other people easy shots, and he had put all the little nerves and stuff behind him. He was playing great at this time. Middle of the third as well, Jeremy ran out in transition, and he was kind of sprinting ahead on the break, but Tony Parker was on him. Jeremy tried to get a foul called on Tony Parker. It was a smart play, but he didn't get the call. But he was definitely looking to get it, and as we said, that's good. You have to try to get fouls when you can get them. And basically the ball went out of bounds. It was still Houston's ball, but I know Jeremy was definitely looking to get a foul there. And not only is it smart for you because you'll get shots, but you get the opponent in foul trouble. And that was a smart play by Jeremy. Middle of the third as well, Jeremy had an amazing play where he did the thing like Steve Nash, where he'll drive into the lane. He'll go right down the middle of the lane, and then he'll circle around the lane. He went right down the middle of the lane, then he came out the left-hand side of the lane, I believe. And, so the entire defense is focused on him. And then he saw Demo in the right-hand corner he passed the ball to Demo, but Demo missed a three-pointer. It was just such a phenomenal play by Jeremy. I mean, the whole bench was up, ready to go crazy. It's just Demo missed a shot, but Jeremy was really getting locked in now. And I made the note, he's found the right amount of mental tension. He's not too keyed up. Now he's relaxing and playing his game, and he was doing very well, very well. Also, middle of the third, Jeremy drove down the middle of the lane, did a little spin move on Tony Parker, who fouled him, and Jeremy got 2 free throws, and he hit both of them. And that made the score 63-62 Houston with 4 minutes and 40 seconds left in the third quarter. That was the best sequence for Jeremy in the entire game. Late, early, mostly middle of the third quarter. That's when he was really, really playing well, and he had found his groove. Now, Patrick Beverly came in for Jeremy with 4 minutes and 30 seconds left in the third quarter. At that time, the score was 63-63. Now, I mentioned before that there was a great play in this game where Houston exploited San Antonio's defense. It happened at the end of the third quarter. The score was 71-67 Houston. James Harden drove down the middle of the lane. Then he kicked the ball out to Patrick Beverly in the corner. I can't remember. I think it was the right-hand corner. And so, like I said, San Antonio aggressively went out to challenge Patrick Beverly's shot. What that means, though, is because of the way the defense stacks the middle of the paint, Chandler Parsons was wide open for a three-point shot. And so what Patrick Beverly did was instead of taking that contested corner three, he threw the ball around the perimeter right up to Chandler, who was about 15 degrees right at the top of the arc. Chandler Parsons nailed a three-pointer. That was a great, great play. And that was the perfect way to attack that defense. Harden goes down the middle so that the defense starts to sag in. Everybody wants to help out to stop Harden. That means they start to leave the guys on the perimeter open. Harden passes it out to the first guy, San Antonio aggressively goes out to challenge him, but that means nobody's guarding the second guy. So if you make the extra pass wide open, that's what happened. Chandler nailed it. Perfect. That was just perfect execution. Jeremy began the fourth quarter out on the court with Patrick Beverly. I know Surpreet, I believe, has from India has mentioned this about, hey, do these guys, or somebody's mentioned this, are these guys going to play at the same time, Patrick Beverly and Jeremy? Yeah. And this was an example of this. They played the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter together. Jeremy was playing shooting guard. Patrick Beverly was playing point guard. And so James Harden was getting a rest. Early in the fourth, Jeremy drove along the right baseline close to the basket, and he kicked the ball out to Carlos Delfino for a nice three-pointer right from the top of the arc. That was a great play by Jeremy. Also early in the fourth, Jeremy, you got to see this play, and I know it'll be in the highlights, so you can check out the in the video description where you can go and check the highlights out. I know you're going to see this play. Jeremy had a great pass to Greg Smith. I think this is in transition. Jeremy was he was a little bit outside of the lane, almost like in a diagonal 45 degrees right of the basket. So kind of right in that little spot, right outside the lane. And Greg Smith came barreling down, and Jeremy passed him the ball, and Greg Smith had just a monster dunk over one of the Spurs. I can't remember who it was, but I mean, it was just an unbelievable dunk. Just incredible. Guy came with 9 minutes and 40 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and it made the score 81-74 for Houston. Also early in the fourth, Jeremy had a nice off-the-dribble jump shot from the top of the key against Manu Ginobili. It was a great move. I talk all the time about how Jeremy has to keep working on his individual moves so he can get space to shoot shots. Well, he put a great move on Manu Ginobili, got wide open for a jump shot, and he hit it. Then Jeremy was working extremely hard on defense against Tony Parker. So Tony Parker was starting to heat up. As I said, he did amazing in the fourth quarter, 12 points in the fourth quarter and 14 efficiency units in the fourth quarter. Jeremy was trying hard here. He was working hard. He knew Tony Parker was going to heat up, and that's exactly what happened. Middle of the fourth, Jeremy had a nice pass out to Chandler for an open three-point shot, but Chandler did not hit the shot. Middle of the fourth, Jeremy had a great steal. Thiago Splitter, the center for the Spurs, had the ball right down by the rim. Jeremy came from the left-hand side of the baseline, running towards the rim, and just swiped the ball right away from Thiago Splitter. That came with 6 minutes and 15 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Excellent help defense. It was either against Splitter or Boris Diaw. Those two guys were right there at the rim. So, I mean, if he doesn't steal the ball, it's probably going to be a dunk. And it was a great play by Jeremy. Right around this time, it was 89-83 for Houston with 5 minutes and 58 seconds left in the game. So Spurs were starting to tighten up a little bit. They were starting to tighten the score, and Tony Parker was really starting to do well. The lead got down to 89-87 with 4 minutes and 4 seconds left. And at that point, Tony Parker was rolling. He had at least 6 points already in the quarter, and he was setting up other guys well. This is when Kevin McHale sent Patrick Beverly to the scores table. And I was like, yeah, I could see what he's going to do here. And remember, Jeremy was playing well. He was playing well on offense, but he was having trouble stopping Tony Parker. So again, the thinking of Kevin McHale at this point is, number one, I got to win this game, no matter what. Doesn't matter about whose feelings are hurt or any of that. That's first. Second, I need to stop Tony Parker. Tony Parker is torching us. We must have defense as good as we can on Tony Parker. Number 3, Patrick Beverly was having a good game. Remember, he had 11 points at this point. And so that's what Coach McHale was thinking, almost certainly. Those 3 things. Win the game, need better defense on Tony Parker. Patrick Beverly's playing well. I know a lot of people are going to be unhappy about this, or they would have been if we would have lost. But I understand why McHale did it. I understand why he did it. Tony Parker was going crazy, and you got to try to slow him down. Now, it didn't work. As soon as Patrick Beverly came in this game, Tony Parker hit a jump shot on him almost immediately. And he scored at least 4 points against Patrick Beverly, and it might have been 6. So, as I said earlier in the video, it didn't work. What McHale tried to do didn't work. And not only did Patrick Beverly not stop Tony Parker on offense, on defense, as I mentioned earlier, Patrick Beverly, there was 2 minutes and 39 seconds left in this game or so, and the Spurs had taken the lead. More Tony Parker. 91-89 for the Spurs. Houston ran a designed play, it looked like. I think it was after a timeout, where James Harden went down the middle of the lane again, and he passed it out to Patrick Beverly from the left corner, and Patrick Beverly missed the 3. And at this point in the game, when Patrick Beverly missed that 3, start thinking, oh, man, they're going to lose this game. And right after that, James Harden had a turnover. And right after that, Tony Parker scored again on Patrick Beverly. And then right after that, Chandler Parsons had a turnover. So it was like, oh, my gosh. Everything was going bad. McHale was going to get crushed for taking Jeremy out, et cetera, et cetera. But with the score 93-89 Spurs with about a minute and a half left, Houston either got a steal or else San Antonio missed a shot real badly. Then James Harden found Chandler Parsons for a 3-pointer with a minute and 12 seconds left to make the score 93-92 Spurs. And then Tony Parker, I think, got fouled and hit 2 free throws. So, yeah, he scored 6 points with Patrick Beverly guarding him in the last 4 minutes. So that's as many points as he scored against Jeremy in the corner as well. So that made the score 95-92 Spurs. There was 1 minute and 7 seconds left. Houston took a timeout. They got a play for James Harden where he shot a 3-pointer. He missed it, but he was fouled. So he got 3 free throws. He hit 2 out of them. That made the score 95-94. There was a out-of-bounds play with 42 seconds left in the game. And the referees weren't sure who it went off of. So they went to the review television's video monitors and looked at it, but they still couldn't figure it out. So what they did is they had a jump ball close towards the Spurs basket because that's where the ball went out of bounds. If you don't know who it went out of bounds on, then you have a jump ball and whatever end it's closest to. And if it's close to the middle of the court, then you have a jump ball at midcourt, which is what you do to start the game. They had a jump ball down at the Spurs basket. San Antonio won the tip, but they missed the shot. They missed their shot, and that gave Houston the ball with 20 seconds left, or so, 25 seconds left. Houston came down on offense. I don't think they had any more timeouts left because they didn't call one. They almost lost the ball. I want to say Carlos Delfino kind of got tripped up or something and went down to the ground, but he called he did call a timeout left, so they did have a timeout left. And that was very, very fortunate because it could have been a jump ball and Houston might have lost possession, but they didn't. So with 9 seconds left, it was was one play. It was, Houston was down 1 point, 95-94, and there were 9 seconds left. So either they were going to get a shot and go ahead, or else they were going to miss a shot or turn the ball over and lose. Said James Harden went to the free throw line, tried to get a foul, tried to draw contact with the San Antonio defender. Didn't work, but he hit the shot. That left 5 seconds in the game. San Antonio took a timeout. They came out of the play. They came out of the timeout, ran a play. Tim Duncan missed a shot, and then Manu Ginobili missed a tip-in attempt. And that meant that Houston won the game 96-95. And I will say this, Patrick Beverly played excellent defense on that final play. Manu Ginobili was the guy who threw the ball inbounds. And what they were trying to do was they were trying to get a layup backdoor cut for Manu Ginobili. I talked about backdoor cuts in the last video. That's where your man loses sight of you for a second, and so you cut to the basket. What happened was Manu Ginobili threw the ball into Tim Duncan, and what the play was going to be was Ginobili throws the ball into Duncan, then he cuts to the rim, and Duncan passes the ball back to him, and he goes for a layup. And it almost worked, except Patrick Beverly knew what they were doing, and he disrupted it. So instead of passing the ball to Ginobili, Duncan was forced to take a shot, and he missed it. So Patrick Beverly helped make McHale's move work. Beverly basically helped save McHale there, because if Ginobili would have gotten a layup there, then Kevin McHale would have gotten ripped because he took Jeremy out of the game, and they lost. But it didn't happen. Beverly played good defense, and Houston won. And I said that's sometimes the difference between being a great coach and being a terrible coach in terms of perception. Summary is this was an amazing win. Incredible. Woo! Big time. Best win of the year because of all the circumstances and how important this game was for the playoffs. Positioning. Yes, Jeremy was benched late. I told you the reason why it happened. It was because McHale wanted to try to slow down Tony Parker, and Patrick Beverly had played well, so he felt okay about doing it. Again, now it doesn't matter at all, because the only thing that matters was that Houston won the game. The headline is Houston defeats San Antonio for incredible upset or whatever. So what Jeremy did doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. Doesn't matter that he got benched. Nobody cares. As I said yesterday, this was the first game in a very difficult 4-game stretch. That's really going to help hopefully solidify Houston in the playoffs. And they won this game. Critical. Just, I said, this is definitely the best win of the year against one of the best teams in the league. So awesome. Just tremendous. Okay, it is 10:48 p.m. on the eastern coast of the United States on Sunday night, March 24th, which means it is 10:48 a.m. Monday, March 25th in Taipei, Taiwan. King Tai Te, I believe your name is. I know it's King Tai. I can't remember the last name. I'm sorry. Thanks for correcting me on the time in Taipei. You're absolutely right, because we're now in daylight savings time, I believe, or whatever it is. The clocks move forward 1 hour in the United States. So that happened about 2 weeks ago, which means that since that didn't happen, since the clocks don't get changed apparently in Taipei or in Taiwan, then it's not 13 hours ahead. Now it's 12 hours ahead. So I thank you for pointing that out to me in the comments of the last video. There's no comments for me to answer in this video because I was able to answer all of the comments in the comment section of the Game 69 video, which is great. I will definitely be going down to the comment section of this video to interact with everybody, because this was huge victory. We all are going to want to celebrate and have fun and talk about how great this game was. Next game is in 3 days. which is good. That means the team has time to rest and the team has time to practice, which is good. Anytime you can get rest towards the end of the season, that's definitely a good thing. When guys are a little more tired, legs are worn down, it's good that Houston has 2 days off. That will be Wednesday, March 27th here in the United States at 8 o'clock Eastern Time on the East Coast against the Indiana Pacers. Indiana is a very good team, but they're not that good on the road. They're very good at home, and they're building. If Houston can win that game, man, I just would be so excited. If Houston's able to go 2-2 or better than that in this 4-game stretch of tough opponents, they're going to be almost certainly in the playoffs. So if they're able to beat Indiana, and they can beat them, because, again, they're not good on the road, Indiana isn't, then I'll just be the happiest person in the world. I mean, I just would just be incredible. Again, Wednesday night here in the United States, Thursday, March 28th at 8 a.m. in Taipei, Taiwan, is when that game will take place. So early Thursday in Asia. Okay. That's it for now. Your happy comments below in the comments section below the video player. I know some of you guys aren't going to be happy about Jeremy getting pulled, but it doesn't matter. Don't get stuck on that. It doesn't make a difference because Houston won. Everything's cool. Thumbs up, thumbs down on this video. We will give you full information in the video description below the video player. Game stories, game highlights, box score of the game, and how you can come and join the CNM Facebook group where we have over 2,000 members and counting. Love to have you be part of that. I am Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. Thanks for watching Conservative New Media. We strive to be the #1 JLin YouTube fan channel. Super win. Super win. I didn't expect this win, but it's just, it couldn't have come at a better time or against a better team. This really shows you how good Houston can be when they're playing the way that they're capable of playing. Look, what's even better about this game is Jeremy didn't play that well, and Houston didn't play great the whole game, and they still won. For Jeremy to have a little bit of an off game and Houston to not play great the whole game and to still beat one of the top 3 teams in the league, that is extremely impressive. I mean, look, if Houston's able to do that, they're going to have a real chance in the playoffs. Now, we'll see if it holds up in the playoffs, but this team has to be taken seriously, and it's just it's incredible what this team's accomplished this year already, and it's looking better and better, and we're one step closer to the playoffs, and hopefully tomorrow we might even be in the 6th seed. So hang in there, roll with the punches, just like Jeremy will. The little benching doesn't mean anything, and we will talk to you again soon. I hope everybody is having a great day, a great night, wherever you are around the world where you watch this video. Stay tuned. A couple days on to the Indiana Pacers.